welcome back to our show. Today I'm going to talk about autistic action heroes. Not a subject I ever thought I'd actually be covering, but I mean, essentially over about 2 weeks I saw 2 different films with autistic action heroes. It was not intentional, it was just what I fancied watching. So I watched The Accounting because the new film's coming out and I hadn't seen the original for a while, and I enjoyed the film. It's not an amazing film, but it's enjoyable. It's silly, but it's enjoyable. And then I watched Chocolate, which is the Thai action movie from the mid 2000s or mid late 2000s that came out, and also has an autistic action hero at the centre. There's like 2 of these within about 2 weeks. I have taken to combine them. I don't think I'd do a video on either of them individually, but because it's such a weird subgenre, it's like, okay, I need to do something with this. So I'll start with Chocolate and then I'll go on to The Accountant. I should say neither of these films are like masterpieces in any way. So the Chocolate was directed by Pragya Pinaku, who also did some stuff with Tony Jaa. He was the one who directed Ong Bak and The Protector and The Protector 2. So he's done a lot of, and he's helped him with Ong Bak 2 and 3, I think, as well. So he's a solid action director who has fallen in hard times now. He doesn't do as much anymore. And even when he was doing the films, it was a case of the action's great, the storytelling itself is maybe not so great. It stars Yanin Vismatandanda. I know I'm butchering this name. He also goes by Jija. Yeah, I'm just bad with certain names. I don't have the mouth for it. For every culture has a certain way to pronounce names that makes sense within their language, but doesn't make sense within other people's language. So, and she's great in this film. She's just terrific, and she also did Rage and Fury as well, or something like that, that came out after this as well, that was well received. Chocolate did not do well when it was released, but it's developed a lot of cult status since then because the action scenes are terrific. It's just that you kind of have to get beyond drama scenes before you get to them, and that's kind of where the film kind of falls down slightly, because it starts off with the parents meeting, with her parents meeting up and falling in love, been forced apart, and they're not allowed to contact each other because there's a guy in love with her mother who's jealous of her father, and basically he'll cause so much violence if they ever meet up again. But she became pregnant with her lead character, who was born autistic but can memorize stuff really fast and express herself through physicality more than anything, and likes watching martial arts movies. It's an expression of physicality. So all that stuff, it makes sense about the movie world. Does not make sense within reality, I think. I'm not sure if there's ever going to be an autistic martial arts, expert. I mean, it's the same thing they do in Accountant. I mean, I'm sure in Accountant they watched Chocolate, how to do this, and they probably were like, there's no way you do this realistically. You just have to go along with the fantasy. And I've got to admit, the first third of this film is a bit of a slog, really, because you're setting up so much, but you're jumping through time so much that you have to go through the love story, then you have to go through her training, her learning all the skills, then you go through her building a friendship with a pal who's this fat kid who helps her develop her skills, but is also trying to look out for her and her mum, because he's a bit more street smart, and her mum's trying to go straight from being a criminal and is a bit straight ahead and more realistic. And it's that thing of you've got so much stuff to develop in the first third of the film that it kind of trips over itself. It's like, it's going there, then it's going there. And then the thing is, the love story between the parents could have been a flashback. It really would have worked better as a flashback. Like, the idea is, you see these people in trouble, there's more trouble comes, and then you do a flashback and you find out why it's causing a problem. It would have worked so much better, and it probably would have made you more interested in the story, because the way the story's told, it feels so like there's one thing happening, there's another thing happening, and there's no dramatic thread to grab onto. It just feels that things are happening. So that becomes a problem. But the actors are charming, everyone's doing their best, and that gets you through. The charm of the actors get you through the really awkward storytelling. And then when the action hits, it becomes amazing. And that's the big takeaway, is like, I would say The Accountant is a much more successful narrative, but the action in this, in Chocolate, is so much better than The Accountant can ever do. It just is better. Because it starts out slow as she's learning from watching Bruce Lee films, from watching kids who have been local learning how to do kung fu, and then she's did a couple of fights with some locals who are attacking her, and that builds up, and you see, okay, she's got some skill. Then tries to defend herself, and as a try to get money that's owed her mother, which puts them on the targets of the villains, who realise, oh, she's come back for the money now. Oh, because my mother's ill. And that's what makes them target her. And through the early parts of that, you start to see more of her skill. And then at a certain point, she goes after someone who's not going to give her money. And it becomes, pretty brutal. And then the next bit is even more brutal. And each thing is an escalation of brutality. There's one bit where she goes into this market, and the action has already been very good before then, but when you go into the marketplace, and she does not like bees, so her friend gives her this protection for the bees. When she goes in there and takes out the whole market to get the money, that's when the film just kicks into like a much higher gear. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is just amazing. And it just delivers everything you want. She's smaller than everyone else, but what they do with the tactics of the fight is she is tactful, very careful how she moves. She's not going for the big macho fight. She's going for joints. She's going for weak points. Like, you can do all your stuff, she'll take out your leg and then kick you in the head, and that's you gone. And there's all these things going on. I mean, before that, there's an earlier sequence where she's in a place where she's trying to get some money, and it is quite brutal, and there's some ice things around her, and they run around it, and it's like, I've seen this before, this is well done, but I've seen it before, it's enjoyable, but it's okay. When you get to the meat factory, it's like, okay, this is just stepped up a level into just, this is wonderful. And then it keeps on going. The friend gets kidnapped, which leads her to basically going after them, and it leads to the last third of the movie, which is one big action scene, and every scene escalates to something more insane. They're outside the side of buildings fighting. There's people falling off buildings having hard landings. That looked brutal. I would not want to be a stuntman during any of this sequence. And when she's fighting people, there's some girls she's fighting as well as guys, and they all fight differently, and she's adjusting to them. And there's also this other guy who's also autistic, who's used by the villain, and she has to adjust because he fights the same way she does, and she has to adjust her tactics to fight him. And each time you see her getting better and learning from the mistakes of the past and studying how everyone else is fighting and adjusting to that and actually taking them out. So it's the actual story of the fighting is actually just much more impactful than the story of the thing you're meant to be involved with, because you like the characters, you hope they do well, but they're not very deep characters, and they don't spend enough time really getting to know them, because there's so much plot stuff to go through that ultimately it takes away from the identification with the characters, because you're always going to the next plot point. And it's just like there's an overbalance at the start that makes you exhausted with the plot before you even get to the action. And it's like, well, you just get to the action. We know it's an action movie. But then when the action comes, it really delivers. But you've sort of this plot hanging around that you have to just deal with. So, but it's still a beautiful film for when it delivers. It kind of is like Ong Bak in that, but Ong Bak, you could not give a crap about the actual plot. But the fight scenes are amazing. And same with Protector. There's a plot, I suppose, but everyone really remembers the big runner shot where he's teeing at everybody and all these other fight scenes he gets into. It's just that thing of when the action's done well, you notice the action's been done well, and it can take over. And especially if the actual everything's into the action rather than the plot or the story, you can kind of tell. That's when they tried to do more story, but it wasn't done particularly well. Like if there wasn't any action in this film, the story itself would not hang together. You know, it just wouldn't. It would just be like a bunch of cliches. There are a couple of things that are cultural based that probably wouldn't do well over here now. There's the trans villains who are all like these. There's a whole army of trans villains for the villain that you know, the trans right factors would have a fit if this film was released now. And they're just fun villains, but it's like well, not very tactful. I remember watching it even then thinking, this is not very tactful, you know. But no one was up in arms the same way they are now. But it does feel like it's a cultural thing. Like I'm sure there's a lot of like trans people in that area that they're just thinking, oh, let's make them as villains and have some fun with it. But it just comes across as weird. But you know, apart from that, it's an outrageous film. It's just so much fun. It's also a film. It's like when I rewatch this, I'm ignoring the actual plot stuff. I'll just fast forward to the fight scenes because that's where the fun is. Now to The Accountant. The Accountant is an enjoyable pulp film. It is not amazing. The one thing that Chocolate and The Accountant share is the best character is your central character. In Chocolate, she's your best character. She's the one that works best. In Accountant, it's the same way. The Ben Affleck character is the best character. Because he's interesting, because he's weird, he's got these weird tics, because he's autistic, but he's specifically odd in his own way. And they did not ignore how he come across as weird to other people. He does not function the same way as anyone else. He comes across as weird, but they do not shy away from that. He's like, yep, they commit to that. They do not give you emotional attachments with him that are obvious, but until he does create emotional attachments to certain people, and he does have like damaged past with his father. He's trained to become a soldier because his father couldn't accept he was autistic and decided he had to make him strong to survive. So he learned how to actually be develop a certain set of skills, is how they put it nowadays. And he also worked with his father on various things, and he learned a certain extreme version of what morality is that helps him function, but comes across as vigilante to everyone else. So all that tracks in a fantasy world thing, where in reality, you know, this would last 2 seconds, but you can allow it for a fantasy thing. And for a day job, he's an accountant. He helps people out. He also goes into companies and finds out where the flaws are within the company, and if someone's stealing money from them. But also he gets into companies that are very illegal and then causes havoc by taking people out as well. He's got his own system, and as the film goes on, you realise he is tied to certain FBI agents who use him to do things he can't do legally. And it's an investigation within. But maybe I say that, but it's obvious from the start that's going on. They try and make it a mystery, but it's not obvious. I remember watching it and it was like 10 minutes in, I've figured this out. It's like, there's nothing here to figure out. It's obvious. They're not even trying to hide it that much. It's like Like, there's a whole twist where an FBI agent investigating him that's so obvious from the start. And it's the least interesting part of the film, but it's like, it's still enjoyable. The actors are having fun. All the actors in this film are having fun with the parts. Anna Kendrick comes in, or Anna Kendrick, she comes in and she's the person who finds the fault in the company he's investigating to start with. She ends up having to go on the run with him. She's having fun even though it's a character who's not particularly the original character. It's the same with J.K. Simmons as the FBI boss. Not an original character. But they allow the actors to find fun things within the characters so that even stock characters can be enjoyable. John Berthnall plays a guy who's also a marksman, someone who protects people rather than kills them, but also protects different companies and things like that. And he's an interesting character as well because even though he's in a moral grey area, there's a humanity to him. He's very kind of normal and based in normality. Of course, there's a connection between him and Ben Affleck's character. That's, again, really obvious. There's no twist in this film. You'll spot the villain now immediately. You'll spot everything that's going on immediately. But it's still an enjoyable genre film because they commit to it. They have fun scenes with all the characters. Affleck's committed to that character, playing him as sectioned off. You can back and forth in time find out how he became that way. And actually finding out how he became that way is the most interesting part of the film. And just again the interactions with people and how he's reacting. Gavin O'Connor directed it and also was one of the, I think he helped develop, I don't know. But they have a writer as well, but O'Connor usually writes his own films, so I'm sure he had some say in the development of it too. Again, it's a silly premise, but everyone goes with it and makes it enjoyable. It's one of those fun genre films made by a studio that is a lot better than it should be. It should be a low budget exploitation bit of trash, but they actually try to make it enjoyable and as tactful as possible without being offensive, but also making it a fun genre film. And it works for what it is. It's silly. It knows it's silly, just like the Chocolate film. And the thing is, Chocolate, you're there for the action. In Accountant, the action's fine, but you're really there for the weird character beats throughout the film. That's what you're there for. That's what's enjoyable. That's what keeps it going. It's just a different set of perspectives. It's just like the action's okay, but it's not really what you're there for. But I mean, it's one of those. This is a lot old kind of genre that when they're going to do doing an Accountant 2, which is going to come out in a month or two. And I'll probably go see it. It's something that is a very tactless idea, but if you approach it in the right way, it can work. But it's God knows what they're going to go do next. I mean, they've done a blind superhero, Daredevil, again played by Ben Affleck in the first version of it. I guess he likes the challenge of doing things that are absolutely absurd. But yeah, they're both fun. But if you have an action person, Chocolate. If you like something more normal and more mainstream, The Accountant, that's the best way to break it down. But they're both enjoyable for different reasons. Right, I hope you enjoyed the video. That's me for now.